Okay, so this is another opportunity to learn about how to do mapping for Lowrance systems using the SAS.Planet and the Insight map creator. Building on videos, there's a gentleman in Eastern Europe that was really handy, and also a guy down on a boat in Australia that told me how to name the maps and things like that. So thanks to those teams, and hopefully there's a few more tips in here that will help out. So I'm going to load up SAS.Planet. In fact, I've already got one open, so I can see down here in this toolbar. Sometimes it actually will stack into the little taskbar icon. So if you have multiple ones of these, they don't always show down in this taskbar. They might stack in, as I say, the sort of these icons here. So let's load it up, and I'm already cheating, but I've actually selected the area that I want to make a map of. And as it happens, I actually want to do it with satellite, but I found it a little bit easier just to use Google Maps to plot out. So now I'm going to switch this to satellite view, and you'll have seen you can view the tiles. So if you select here, I'm saying, have I got the Z1 zoom level tile? And the answer is no, because it's not showing its grade off. And here I'm saying mark existing tiles. I think when you first install this software, particularly the stable version that I did, I think it actually defaulted to non-existent tiles. So that might just be a little thing to check that you're marking existing tiles. And let's say I want to start with a zoom level of Z9. Actually, you can immediately see that I've pulled in Z9 for this area already. Over here, I can say last selection, and Ctrl B does the same thing, and you can hit this zoom to extents so you can see what it is. Now, when you have these larger tiles, if you want to avoid black bars as you zoom in, you really need to make sure that you cover the actual map tiles. So at this zoom level, because it's so far out, you're probably actually better overriding this. So I've actually saved this particular picture that I'm interested in. But until I get further down, maybe, let's see, so I'm going to do odd numbers actually. Let's do Z15, see what that looks like. So you can actually see I've done some other Z15 downloads here. And that's a good point for me as well, and we'll come to that. But you really don't want to have lots of files that you're not actually going to use in the directory, because it slows it down. Every extra file you have will be needed to be scanned through, and that can take quite a lot of time. And in fact, I generally try to empty my cache between runs. And the easiest way to do that, I found, is I use a RAM disk. So I've actually set up a RAM disk here on my S drive with my cache going to it. And if I look at that now, map settings, my cache is defaulting to my S drive. And that's going to allow me to easily just unmount it or close my PC down. And I don't have to spend minutes and minutes and minutes deleting all those files I don't need. The other thing is that on the internet settings, you can see this maximum concurrent requests. And this is the number of different connections to download tiles at the same time. Now, I haven't seen this elsewhere. This is a really useful feature to pull tiles down quickly. And I'll come to that. So let me just go down to a slightly lower zoom level, see if I haven't got those tiles. There we go. So at this level now, I can probably do a Control B, show me the extents of that window, and I'm going to say I want to download 17. So I'm in the download section, and here I'm going to tick this box where it says close download window once finished. And I've got this tick box here at the moment, split section into. So if this is normally unticked, I think it normally defaults to something like that, and it's not connected. So let's just hit start, and we'll see it. And we'll look down here to how quickly it's downloading. And you can see that now. So it's going to go off. You can see these little tiles coming in here, and its estimated time is 17 minutes. And you can see here it's pulling down 30, 40, 50, 60. So pretty slowly, right? So I'm just going to bring that window back up, quit this. And I'm going to use the split section into multiple parts. And I'm going to say 64, which is my maximum. And we're going to remember to tick this because look at the number of boxes that we've now got coming out. Look at the tiles coming in across here. Look how much quicker that is. And each one's only going to take 40 seconds now because I've got 64 times the number of tiles. And you can see down here, you know, I can't even count the it's 100, 200, 300, 400, 8, 9,000, 2,500, 3,000. That's just crazy. And it's done actually, pretty much. So that's a pretty impressive technique. The other thing I do is sometimes it just glitches and doesn't actually download them all. So you can just say, just check, make sure it's got everything. And it looks like it has. Okay, so we've downloaded those tiles for the zoom level 17 and my Ctrl B again. I've done my download. I can now go to export and I'm going to create a KML file. This is the keyhole file, which is going to tell the mapping system what area we should be creating the map for. So this is really defining the outline of the polygon that we've created. And we're also going to tell it what the files are. So I'm going to say I want it at a zoom level of 17. I'm going to create it in here. In fact, let's just repeat that again just for clarity. Download the satellite tiles, which is what we've just downloaded, and you need to make sure that you tick 17 here as well. And I choose don't store non-existent tiles, what's the point? And also I like it to be absolute because I've got it on my RAM drive and it can go direct and I don't have to worry about loading the files out of the right directories. So if I hit start, it'll go away and it's done whatever that was, 12,000 tiles, I think it did. And we can now switch over to Insight Map Creator. So here's the Map Creator version. I'm using, I think, pretty much the latest version that you can get, 0.7.4. This does have some glitches, so it doesn't clear itself correctly between maps, so you need to make sure that you close it and open up a new fresh one. Otherwise, it'll keep the old keyholes and potentially keep the links to the old files, even if you don't add them that way. And what we're going to do is we're going to say, right, I'm going to add a file, and I'm going to go off and find my keyhole file, which was file, processing modes, keyhole. Let's try that. And there's my keyhole file I've just created, YZ17. That's a good point, so I need to be on the right thing. I can build this now, so it'll tell me where to go, and it'll go off and search for those files and complete. I can then move to the processing mode of raster, and I want to do some advanced options. So my atlas, I can give it an atlas description, and this is where you can name the map. And I can say M equals this particular one, Colorado River. Bit weird. Hit return, it doesn't go anywhere. You have to just close this box off with this, but that works fine. And then we want to set a work directory, so let's just put an output file here, and I want to say Z17, and I'll select it. So that way, what I'm going to try to do is to map each individual zoom layer separately, because that way you're definitely getting the highest quality image files to build your map. So all the way down to probably Z20 is what I'll be looking for to give me really good resolution. I think that gets down to like 1/4 of a meter squared, something like that, so about a foot square tiles. And what I'm going to do is look at this resolution option. Now, there is a file in the Insight Map Creator, that's the actual documentation, and it tells you what raster resolution for which pixels. So if you looked into the system over here, it will actually tell you how many meters per pixel at this zoom level of a zoom of 17. You can see that's now down at roughly 2 meters per pixel. And what I've done is I've put here, as it happens, I've actually named zoom 17, and you can see that here the upper limit would be 3 meters per pixel and our lower limit would be 1.5 meters per pixel. So you can see that 2 meters per pixel fits neatly into that Z17 mapping. So this is the resolution that you want to select for Z17. You can see I've gone all the way from Z5, which is basically the highest level that Lowrance system would go to, all the way down. I only go to Z20, possibly 21 occasionally, if I've got a very specific reason to go down that level. And so let's set that to, did we say it was 2 meters? Let me just check that again. Yeah, Z17 is 2. And then I can build, sorry, no, before I build it, the other thing I wanted to do was go into the raster options, and this satellite imagery needs to be shaded relief. I think we've seen that in other videos. And then this other thing is this filter alpha. This is where the black borders come in, and you really want that to be 65,500. So if there's any pixels that aren't in the tile, it won't put it on, and therefore you won't get this black border. It just won't use the tile. So you'll end up with the complete tiles inside your polygon. So when you're drawing your polygon, you need to make sure the polygon is big enough that it goes outside the tiles that you want in your map, and that way you can avoid the black bars. So let's hit this to build, and that's helpful. There must be folders to convert. That's a very valid point. So let me go and add those. So in my Google Sat, I downloaded it into this Z17 folder, and then I can build it. So it's going to go away and do that. Now, it does take time, and it's got quite a lot to process. So what I can do here is I can show you that actually if I go to my task manager, you'll see here's my insights, and my priority has been set to high automatically. And the way that I've done that is I have modified this thing here. What it does is it actually runs the command window. It says start the Insight Map Creator, and it's going to use this / real-time switch. So if I ran this as administrator, it would actually run it real-time. Because I wasn't running it as an administrator, it doesn't allow it to run it real-time. It drops it down to above high or whatever it was, which is still higher than the system, and you'll see that it makes a difference in how quickly these tiles get manufactured. So that's, rather than me having to go in here, I can go in here, right, and right click this, set the priority, increase it to real time, and say yep, and actually that's going to run even faster now. But there's not a huge difference between high and real time, but definitely a difference between normal and high. So by setting this shortcut like this, so it's saying use command from Windows /C and then start the Insight Map Creator program, use the real-time switch, and then tell it which directory it's going to get it from. And I've just got it on my local C drive, Insight Map Creator, Microsoft. And that's the default path to the exe. Okay. And you'll see that this punches away, and that's fine. Now, whilst this is running, you can actually, so we can save this as well, actually. So I might choose to say I'm going to call this Colorado 17. If I downloaded, say, a 50 at this point, I could actually run a second one. If I have a different work directory, then I can run these together, and I've got, this is taking probably 7 threads, something like that. So if you've got a multi-threaded processor, it's definitely quicker to run multiple zoom levels at the same time. And that's about it. I hope that helps. So here's a good example where I'm actually running multiple Insight folders here. I'm doing my Z20, which is taking absolutely forever. In fact, it's still discovering files. And then, wow, I'm quite surprised by that actually. Might truly find it difficult to believe. Then this is just processing here, and there you go, it's just kicked off as it happens. 500,000 tiles, that'll take a little while to go out, I expect. I've just done 13, 15, I've got 17, 18 and 20. As I say, normally I'd just do 2 apart, but I've kind of got a bit of a mix and match here, unfortunately, for no good reason. But I thought that was interesting to share with you. I wanted to go back here actually and show you. So this was, for example, at Z15 level, and this is where I was saying, take a bigger square box, but also make sure that the box that you've drawn, any cell, like even this tile here, because this border is just on the inside, because I've now set this to say only use this tile if it's all 65,535 pixels in a tile is actually used. So this probably would actually cut off here, and this tile wouldn't be used, because otherwise this gap between here and here, this area would be a black border. So by not using it, the only black border you get is just this, basically there's 1 pixel thickness that it shows off the tile itself. And you can see if I did this with the 13 that I just did, you can see actually that's the same area. And then the 17, I did a smaller area. In fact, you can actually see this with the original area that I was working with. So it'll only take, if I put that back on, you'd see what that was. But if I zoom this out further, actually, like this tile here, actually, it would be interesting to know what map that would show, because none of those tiles actually are fully utilized, and that actually might create a blank map. I'll have to try that. But if I was doing this for this zoom level, I would do that to ensure that these 6 tiles were fully utilized from a map, and this tile, and this tile, this tile, so all of these on the border would not be shown. It would just, I believe, just be just these 6 inner tiles that would get selected and used. Okay, I'm just actually going to add a few more things. So we'll do it on Z18, and I've said here, obviously I'm going to actually download across here. You can see that this is going to download 48,000 tiles, just shy of 50,000 tiles. What I tend to do is the Lowrance system will go blank if you don't have a zoom level at least every 3. So if I just did 17, so I could go to 20. But in reality, actually, every 2 is a little bit smoother, but you are going to take a lot more data, the more layers that you take. So if you go between 17 and 18, so we just did 17, there were 12,000 tiles. At 18, there's 48,000 tiles. So it's not surprisingly, it's like a 4 times the size each time that you go down these zoom levels. And if you're skipping one each time, it's actually Z20 will be 16 times bigger than Z18 is. So if I untick that, you can actually see this 760,000, which is just shy, for whatever reason, of 16 times 18. So I'm just going to pull this down. The other thing I found is a bit embarrassing, but if you're pulling down lots and lots and lots of tiles, I did actually get not banned, but my IP address was restricted for downloading tiles. So that took a day or so for it to recover from that. So actually downloading via a VPN, I've got ExpressVPN running here. That way you can obviously avoid getting your IP address restricted from downloading if you're doing a lot of tiles. So I'm going to hit start here, it'll go off and do its thing. I'm showing Z17, not 18, so of course that's, there we go. And we can now start seeing these things come in. And I think last time we said it's going to take 40 seconds or something. You can now see it's taken 2 minutes, which I guess is probably about 4 times the length. And down here we can see it downloading those tiles reasonably quickly. You can also just choose this thing, so you can say zoom extents, and you can say bring me up the window as well. There we go. Whilst it is doing that, I did want to show you this little program as well. So you might end up with files, map files that are bigger than 32 gigabytes. And if you wanted to put that in a Lowrance system, they're going to say 32 gig is the maximum card size. It's not strictly true. The default Windows formatting technology goes to exFAT after 32 gigabytes. But there's this little GUI that's been written, GUI format. You can search for it, and it'll actually allow you to format. So this is saying 256 gig card by default is in X format, but you can actually format this as a FAT32. I think I haven't got access to this card at the moment because I haven't loaded it quickly, but we can have a go. I think it's going to say it can't have exclusive write access to it. Yeah, okay. But this little program does allow you to format it, which is quite nice. So I'd recommend finding that. Let's see how we're getting on. There we go. So it's pulled all those down. As I say, I mean, it looks good, but sometimes if you get in really close, occasionally, like here, no, it's just the landscape in that instance. It's typical. It looks like it's pulled them all down this time, but occasionally you'll have just like 1 or 2 in the gap, and the easiest way to check that is just to give it another go, and it gives it an opportunity to pull out any final tiles. And then we're going to do Ctrl B. We're going to say we're going to export. At this time we're in Z18s, so I can change this to say Z18. Don't store references to non-existent tiles. Untick the relative because I want it to be absolute. Click start, and it'll go off and process that. I can then, so here's my Colorado 17. I would close this to clear it because otherwise it stays in memory. It doesn't clear correctly between sessions, which is annoying. But the way to get around it is you can just say, okay, we'll just load that in. Obviously I've moved it down. As it happens, normally I'd move this down by 2 different things, because I normally have Z level 2 apart, but because this is just 1 apart, we can create a new folder here. And probably I wouldn't use Z17 now. I'd probably just do Z20, Z18 and Z16. Need to change this, get rid of that, go back to keyhole, add my Z18 file, get rid of 17. I could, if I wanted to now, save this. We'll call it Z18 in case I want to come back to it again. I can build this. This will take presumably 4 times longer because I've got 4 times as many files. You can view what it's doing. So you can look at the status. This is what it's bringing in. And let's just go back to master mode. So that's completed. Check that, and this obviously brought it in from the save, so you can see that Colorado River is still there. It still has my alpha of 65,000 in it, and it's building it in shaded relief. So I'm ready to build, I believe. And I'll leave that going now. Again, because I've just loaded this without running administrative privileges, this will actually only be running at high. In fact, you have to be in details to see the priority. So here's the priority of high. And you can see here, if you time this, actually it does make a difference. It's like 700, 800, 900. Let's see, switch it to real time. Yeah, let's go for it. 200, 300, 400, 500, 600. So yeah, a little bit quicker. Leave that going. You can see here, this is the total number of map files it's got to get to. So 34,000. And this probably will end up being about a gigabyte of space. I think if I looked at that, that 17 that we did earlier is actually, that particular one is 480 on disk. I'm guessing it's going to be the same, 288. It's quite interesting that if you go back to that folder, it's saying it's bigger. There we go, reread it now. I thought it was only 278, maybe I misread that. Yeah, so 278 megabytes. So the next one down actually will be 4 times that size.